Hey everybody, sorry this is late getting to everyone to get rid of my face. But yeah, so a couple of little things we did in training yesterday. Just wanted to mention a couple of ideas. We'll call these things um, final third entries. I think once we get into this part here, we we have that freedom that we talk about. Um, the idea of being creative, shots, dribbles, one twos, overlaps, crossing the box, little feints, little movements, little reverse passes, crossing over, position switches, all that stuff. But to get us into decent positions higher up the field, and again, this whole picture could actually be dropped off 10 yards too. We just spoke about three different phrases that we can think about. The first one's the trickiest one, I think, to understand, but this is the slider. And this is where the centre forward finds a way just to start to, rather than just coming in short and coming straight here towards the ball, right, which also does move the centre back. That's okay. But the idea is the slider, this person just slides on the other side of the centre back, right? And as that player does that, they might end up in, or they should end up in that position there. And it just changes what we do next. If this ball is good enough, right, we can play that ball into that player. And all of a sudden now that player's now got some options. It could be that we link up with this player. It could be that that ball gets in behind. But what it has done is just move that centre back just a little bit, which creates a hole for something else later on. So we call that the slider. I think the big thing is that if the centre forward is coming off of the centre back, with the goal of moving them around, we just look at this type of a picture here, for example. Like this is just really a knockoff into these types of areas. Nothing wrong with that, but just to mix it up, can we find a way that this player who receives it is now facing something that looks a little bit more dangerous and not necessarily facing backwards? Um, it could also be that this player entirely just gets into that hole just there. If they don't get tracked, they're on the edge there. We call that a little C run, a little Gary Lineker run. Right, the ball could be played in front of you that way. That's another thing. So anyway, it's the slider. So you're starting in a sort of back to goal situation here. It could be this player that's playing it too, but you're starting just to move sideways and turn to face the outside midfield player. Ball gets slid into that spot just there, and now hopefully we can start to see some problems for the left back. You know. So that's the first one, the slider. Again, it could be moving this way too and ended up facing this way. That's okay, but we're just moving laterally to move the centre backs around. They don't like that. The next one, to be quick, is the stretch run. And this can happen on lots of different occasions and lots of different areas of the field with lots of different players. But the stretch run essentially is just to say that the ball is going behind their back four and that we need somebody to stretch. So this person right now is not asking for the ball at their feet, right? They're not coming here necessarily. Not that we wouldn't ever do that if we can get some good 1v1s here. But this person, if the call is stretched, this person's on the edge of that last player, looking to get in there, and then this ball gets played in behind. Typically, to get wide players in, if we're playing the ball through an opposite hole, i.e. this one and not this one, we end up with these players facing goal and being more dangerous, right? Another example of a stretch run is that this player could come to feet here, and then it's the centre forward that stretches. Again, that the goal is at the ball, and then the player gets behind their back four. There's a nice easy ball, opposite hole, centre forward. If I face them the right way, they're just ending up stretching in behind their back four. It could be that this person comes to feet initially. Maybe the ball has come from our centre forward. This one's dropped off. This left back's dropped off a little bit. This person comes to feet. Ball in here. Ball facing this way. Stretch run could be from this player. Ball in through the opposite hole would make sense. That gives us a chance to get in behind. It could be this person moves in like an overlapping fashion. This person is attacking centre mid. Right, we've got a little 2v1. Stretch is the call. Again, this problem, if you give yourself enough room, this should be that the ball can go in that space there. That person's in. But the idea is that this ball, which is an absolute in terms of attacking play, and there's Kimbrough, and scoring goals, has to go behind their back four. So that's an absolute. So that's those two, stretch run and slide. And the last one's breaker. So breaker, we talk about it initially, I think, in terms of a third man run, because it can sometimes get that feel for it. So this one might be that the ball goes into the centre forward, and the centre forward might be, knocking it off to this player who's come in field, into that spot there, and then someone else as a third man run or third person run is breaking into that space just there, right? For a ball in behind on the little stretch pass. But I think really the idea of a breaker comes from somebody from behind the ball is looking to get in behind the centre forward. I think that's probably a bit more accurate. So if we think about that, it could be right now that we've got maybe the left side of midfield is just a little bit deeper right now, and that would be a breaker, right? There's the ball there, and this person started behind it. You're breaking in behind the back line. You're coming from typically behind the ball. That could be a ball over the top, right? There's that one just there. It could be that this person is just looking to break in behind. You're coming from behind the ball there, a little deeper through traffic, right? Maybe the centre forward has moved this person out of the way with a slide run. Ball in behind, there's a little bit of a stretch pass as well, right? But the idea is that someone from a little deeper is looking to get involved. The other thing that we spoke about yesterday, just to cap this off, is the idea of exposing or attacking fullbacks, right? So 2v1 generation. I'll just leave it at that for a second. I'll fill it in later. But the idea here is if we look at this part of the field, if we look at the right-hand side of the field, so this is a cam, right? And this might be how they've set up. Maybe they've got one more player a bit about here. But if we looked at something like this is a pretty simple situation. If this player decides to run at that person's feet and gets into that spot just there, this person gets on the edge, and now we've got a real simple 2v1. So the same thing could happen on this side, right? There's their right back. We could be looking to keep the ball through the CDM. There's one CDM. We're going to have another one. Maybe the ball ends up here with an attacking centre mid, and we're looking at this situation here. If this person's not all the way over there, which they probably won't be, this person's not in that position just there, there's a chance for us just to start to drive towards that fullback and get into that spot there. Now, this causes all sorts of problems for them, right? Again, this might be presuming that their right midfield players high up the field in a 4-3-3. But this is an easy 2v1 to generate just there if we're quick enough to drive directly at that player. And we can start to see what might happen, right? There's a person on the edge. Now we've got a little bit of a stretch ball in behind, right? This person comes over, and great. We can have a little slider over here, so that centre forward moving laterally again. This person's joining in, right? Ball in there, ball in behind, that kind of thing. So that puts us in that final third, that attacking third. All right, so a little longer than I hoped for, but hopefully that helps. And just a little explanation of some of those phrases we spoke about yesterday. And I hope that is great. See you shortly. Cheers.